You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. LSU landed a massive commitment on Thursday from the number one interior offensive lineman in the country, Carius Curne. And if you saw this video that's been floating around the interwebs, it kind of speaks volumes about the type of athlete LSU landed. It's a video Curne posted of himself doing a cartwheel into a backflip. Dude is 6'4", 315, doing a cartwheel into a backflip. It's ridiculous. I just shared it on Twitter if you want to check it out. Anyway, the guy who, believe me when I say, has had the pleasure of coaching Carius Curne at Marion High School's Lance Clark, who's good enough to join us for a couple of minutes now. Coach, it's a pleasure. Thanks for the time. How are you?
Man, I'm good. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing awesome. People here are really excited about this commitment. Tell me about this cartwheel backflip video. What kind of? I mean, this says a lot, right? But what kind of athlete is he?
Yeah, he probably did. When he had that video, he had a little bit of an ankle deal. He can do standing front flips, standing back flips. We're up here near Memphis, so every kid likes to flip, and so he can really get after. Yeah, he's a special athlete. He's 6'4". He's really about 6'5", 6'4", 5'8", 6'5", 1'8", depending on shoes and no shoes. And can flip, can run. Yeah, he's a special athlete for sure.
It's always interesting when you look at guys like this at the high school level. When you're 6'4", 6'5", 315, you're so much bigger than everybody else. And maybe you were always that big, but how is his high school career gone? Like, now he's obviously what he is. Was he always, like, from freshman year on, like, is he always this big and just and dominant?
No. His journey was, so he was smaller when he was little, and he didn't really play football. He didn't really start playing football in earnest till 9th grade. He didn't play offensive line until his 10th grade year. He was just kind of a kid running the halls. He thought he was, he played with his friends as a receiver, a tight end, and how kids do. Not a lot of kids grow up and you're like, man, I really would love to be an offensive guard.
Right.
That's not really the thing. But, he's had a really long his journey. He came freshman year and he doesn't know much. He didn't really want to play offensive line, didn't really want to play football. And then sophomore year, big improvement. Junior year, even bigger improvement. He didn't get in the weight room until this past off season for the first time. So he's really late bloomer. So that's why he comes on the recruiting scene a little later. And, if we had probably pushed him out there earlier, more stringently, it'd probably been a higher prospect. Honestly, I've done this 16 years. He's about as good of an athlete as I've ever coached.
That's an interesting path, right? To have not played football really until his 9th grade year or even into 10th grade. When did you know, okay, he's special?
Well, we knew he was physically special so I came to Marion when he was in 9th grade, and I see this kid, kind of standing on the sidelines. I'm like, why is he on the sidelines? This kid does not need to be on the sidelines. He's got to be playing. And wasn't really he had just kind of got out there, hadn't done a whole lot. And so athletically, we knew he was special pretty immediately. His sophomore year, if you look at his sophomore tape, he's, as an offensive lineman, his first year playing it, so he's making all sorts of mistakes. He's not getting his head in there. He's not playing into his size. He was playing like a big, long athlete, not a guy who weighs 300 pounds. And he's starting to come into that. So we knew pretty early on, but we knew that when it was coming, we wanted him to be ready. It's not about just getting the scholarship offer. It's something we talk about a lot here. It's about succeeding once you're there and reaching your potential. And so, he's kind of on the right track. And so we knew early on, for sure, but we'd like to, keep pushing. He's getting better every day, and so the recruiting process really actually helps with that.
Lance Clark is our guest, the Marion High School head coach there, coaches Carius Curne there in Arkansas. When I was watching some of the highlights that you mentioned, this happens a lot in high school, right? You put your best lineman at left tackle. Is he a guy that you think could play tackle, or is he strictly an interior player at the next level?
So it's been interesting listening to all these colleges coming. The first thing that's interesting is I've never had a lineman who, that Power Fives and the SECs, Georgias and Ole Misses and, every, LSU and everybody's like, yeah, offense or defense. That's really unusual for a lineman at that level that they can do that. He didn't have a whole lot of defensive clips. And then some people are saying, well, he's a little shorter for an exterior offensive lineman, but his athleticism is so good that a lot of people like him as a tackle. I know Brad in particular likes him there, but that Brad likes that he can move him in, move him out. Missouri was the same way. Pretty much everybody was like, well, he can kind of do either because, he may be an inch or two short for what we're looking for in tackles, but he's got 6'6" to 6'7" wingspan, and he runs under a sub-4 940 at 320 pounds. It's unusual with that athletic in the modern game to be able to kind of work those edges against really fast speed rushers that the SEC has. It's something that I think a lot of people like, but certainly he can move inside, and he doesn't have an issue with that.
You mentioned Brad, of course, Brad Davis, and I read some of the quotes that Carius had in his commitment, just talking about the relationship there. Can you elaborate a little, because we hear a lot about Brad Davis, but none of us are in any of those recruiting meetings. What does he do so well in those recruiting meetings? So
Brad does so well is he relates to the kids. Him and Carius have a similar background. He was able to relate to them, and he also didn't sugarcoat anything. He didn't say, "Hey, come here. This is the best thing. This is all fun and games, and you're going to get to play." He says, "You come here, it's going to be hard." And I think that challenge, really speaks to the high-level competitors that places like LSU end up getting. Is you want guys who want that challenge, and Brad really puts it in front of him and says, "This is going to be hard, but if you come here." And he talks about a development plan, and he's consistent with it. And LSU does such a good job of laying out kind of structurally, not just by word, structurally, like how they're going to develop his body nutritionally, how they're going to help him academically, how they're going to help him ultimately get to the NFL, and what does that look like at LSU. And Brad did a really good job being consistent with that. And, Carius just loves Brad, and obviously that's a major piece to how he ultimately ended up at LSU.
Any interaction or relationship there with Brian Kelly?
Yeah, well, he was with Brian Kelly at just a couple of times, when he was down on campus. He was only been down to LSU once or twice now with the official visit. The first time he actually was committed to Arkansas, so Brian Kelly's got a kind of standing rule about I don't really talk to kids that are committed. He still came up and at least said some words. He said he'll talk to him. But, so then he got to go over and see Kelly at the official visit. And, he likes Brian Kelly a good bit. And, obviously, in the coaching community, we all have a lot of respect for Brian Kelly and how good of a coach he is and how good that, the players and the teams he puts out. And so, but, he's excited to get to kind of know Brian Kelly more and kind of fostering that relationship.
Got a couple more for you here. Lance Clark is our guest, head coach there at Marion High School, coaches Carius Curne, LSU's newest commitment. We've talked about the athleticism and all of that. What would you say is an area where Carius still needs work?
Oh, he's a raw product as far as technically. I think most people come in and say he can help right away on the defensive line just because of sheer size and athleticism, and you can rotate that spot a little more. As far as the defensive line, he's only played the position, or offensive line rather, he's only played the position 2 years. And he's got to get cleaner in his pass sets, and he's got to get cleaner on his hand placement. And it's just a lot of technical pieces that, he's really, really taking seriously this offseason. I expect a major jump for him going forward in that way. But he can get cleaner in those ways and playing through his hips and with the shoulders a little more. As big and strong as he is not even close to what he's able to play, which is good news because the SEC D linemen are a lot better than high school offensive defensive linemen here in Arkansas. And so he can get better on the fine tuning of what he can do. And believe it or not, his athleticism and body can get a lot better in a true nutrition program versus just kind of the best he can do. And I think that will kind of maintain it.
Exciting to hear for sure. Last thing, maybe should have led with this, but can you tell us about the kid, Carius Curne, the person?
Yeah, he's a great kid. I love Carius. Our coaching staff loves him. It's always been a journey. It's fun watching kids grow. When you get them when they're young and get to see them grow up. Carius is an old soul and a simple kid. He doesn't do, his Twitter is largely ran by one of our coaches because he doesn't know how to do it, doesn't want to learn how to do it.
I love that.
He doesn't, he's on Facebook, like a Mimo, right? So that's how he operates. And, and he, so he's like, hey, I got this commit video we're going to do. And he's like, I'm going to post it on my Facebook. I'm like, okay, buddy, whatever you want to do. And so, he's an old soul. Like when I met him, he wanted to drive trucks. I'm like, how about the NFL? But he wants to drive, he wanted to drive trucks. He's kind of simple and old school. He's a homebody. That's why, the decision college-wise ultimately going to come down to schools within a 6-hour-ish radius of the Memphis area. And, he has got so much growth. He's so, wonderfully simple in the sense that it's not like when I met him as a 10th grader and, we had a University of Alabama group came up and they weren't doing football. It was just to show students, hey, come to University of Alabama. And he looked at me and said, do they play football there? That's where he was just not too long ago. He's just not caught up into most things recruits and young high school kids get caught up in. He's just not caught up in that. He's not out running the streets. He's a homebody. So he's a great kid. He's grown up a lot. He really, part of the decision to go to LSU and really the decision with his Final Three was what place can help make me a better man, a better father, a better future husband, things of that nature, as well as getting me prepared for the NFL. And so, he's a good kid. He's one of a kind. You will very much enjoy getting to know him. I'm sure you try to get him for an interview. He does not like doing those. He is very uncomfortable. And so,
thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he won't do them.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a little nervous about him live on air, but
Sure.
he was, he's a great kid in that way. So you guys are getting a good one.
Lance Clark. Coach, it's a pleasure. Can't thank you enough for taking a few minutes on this Friday.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.